Hello everyone and welcome to the EFG Evening News Update. My name is Steven. I am the host. I am also the editor-in-chief of EngageFamilyGaming.com and the host of Engage, a family gaming podcast. This is the EFG Evening News Update. I've already said that once, but hey, I'm still learning. For June 22nd, that is a Wednesday. So, two things that I want to bring up today on our little evening news chat. First, there's an article that is on the Engage Family Gaming website that I would like to bring to everyone's attention because I think that it is, number one, interesting, and number two, the person who helped me write it put a huge amount of effort in, so I want to put as many eyes on it as possible. So, the name of the article is A Prosthetist Commentary on Eidos Montreal's Augmented Future. Now, there's a lot to unpack in that. Now, and I'll go over some of it. Eidos Montreal is a video game developer from Canada, spoilers, that is responsible for a video game called Deus Ex: Mankind Divided. Now, Deus Ex: Mankind Divided is a video game that explores the concept of transhumanism. This is the idea that eventually mankind will evolve beyond our physical form and the ethics that go along with that. For example, and I used this example recently on the Gaming with the Moms podcast while recording it. We've already dealt with some of these discussions when we talked about Blade Runner on the Olympics back in London. I know he's become a bit of a controversial figure based on some... I don't really know everything that happened. However, we won't be hearing much from him. However, this is a reasonable example. He is an athlete that runs the 400-meter dash. And he has no legs below the knees, so he has no feet or calves. He runs with prosthetic blades that attach to his knees. There were some people, now, and he is also incredibly fast. Now, he was fast enough to qualify for the South African Olympic team. And there are many who, when he was attempting to be a part of the Olympics, there are many that presumed that it is possible that his prosthetic blades that he was running on actually gave him an advantage, and that perhaps he should run in the Paralympics. He did not. He was accepted by the Olympic community. He ran. Now, the prosthetist who helped me write this article actually commented back then and dealt with the fact that it is very likely that right now his blades were not giving him an advantage. That's not always going to be the case. Eventually, we will be able to make prosthetic legs, arms, eyes, etc. that are strictly better than what we have right now. Transhumanism is kind of dealing with that concept. If everyone could just run faster if they had robot legs, why wouldn't everyone that needed to move faster just buy robot legs? And if everyone buys robot legs, except for, if 75% of the people buy robot legs, then what about the people that don't? Maybe there's cybernetic eyes that give you better vision. Is it you could only be a pilot if you were in the class of people that had this superb vision, right? So what about police officers? Would you then not be able to be a police officer because then you couldn't deal with people who run faster than you? These are some examples, right? Deus Ex examines some of these things. Now, why am I bringing this up here on a family gaming news update? Good question. Eidos Montreal is working with a company called Open Bionics, who is a smaller company that specializes in making essentially cybernetic hands, prosthetics that people can move with their muscles, etc. They are attempting to use 3D printing and other methods to make these things cheaper in an effort to make them more accessible, because there are a lot of people who need prosthetics who simply cannot use them. And they just don't have them accessible to them. So Eidos Montreal is teaming up with them in an effort to take the main character of Deus Ex. His name is Adam Jensen. He has a number of augmentations, and they are working to provide those designs and work to help Open Bionics make new designs that will be open source and delivered through the internet in a hopes to kind of democratize the production of prosthetics. The reason we bring this up is that there are news. First off, it's interesting that a video game company would kind of get in bed with a prosthetic company. So that's one thing. It's just interesting. The other piece is we see all the time. There are things that hit social media about a young kid who lost a limb and their dad's good with a 3D printer or their mom is good with a 3D printer and they build a prosthetic arm or a prosthetic leg for the kid, and everybody's amazed because it's going to save so much money and it's going to change the world. The prosthetist who helped me with this article, by the name of Bill Gibbs, is he kind of, for lack of a better term, advises against this type of stuff. And part of that is because laymen 3D printing what looks like a prosthetic limb may do more damage than they're helping. Sure, it might help in the short term, but if you don't fit it correctly, there may be some problems. So anyone who is interested in that topic, specifically in regards to the prosthetics and, you know, how this works, I recommend that you head over to EngageFamilyGaming.com. See this article. It is called A Prosthetist's Commentary on Eidos Montreal's Augmented Future. There's a video that shows what they're trying to do, and then there is some commentary from, like I said, from William Gibbs, certified prosthetist. It is an interesting read. It will be enlightening to anyone who is curious as to how this process works, and why it may have some more challenges than we might think. He certainly isn't throwing them under the bus and saying that they're doing something evil. I mean, that's not what we're getting at here. It's just that there's more to it than what might appear. And really, we just wanted to explore that. And I had an opportunity to ask him. I asked him for a comment for a story, and he was gracious enough to provide a fairly lengthy essay, which I think I was very interested, and I wanted to share it with everybody else, which is why I bring it up on the EFG Evening News Update. For those of you on YouTube, the link will be in the comments section below, or in the description section. So that is not so much news. That was announced before E3 kind of came in a press release. I've kind of been sitting on this for a little bit because I wanted to make sure that the article was, edited correctly. And I didn't want it to get blown away by E3 coverage because I think that this was something special. So, as far as news, things that happened, today or recently, I want to talk about mobile games for a minute. Now, if you're watching this, if you are around on the internet ever, you are likely familiar with the company that creates Clash of Clans. That's a company called Supercell. They also make Boom Beach. They make Clash Royale, which is a game that I have spoken about on our podcast and on Gaming with the Moms before. They make mobile games, and they make a lot of money doing it. They were valued earlier this year at around $10 billion. It's a little Finnish company making some incredibly popular mobile games. They were just purchased, or arrangements were made for a purchase during the third quarter of this year, which is coming up soon, by a company called Tencent, which is a Chinese gaming conglomerate who is, after this purchase, going to be the single biggest video game publisher, at least from a revenue perspective, that there is. They're going to be responsible for something like 13% of the global video game revenue, so like $10 billion a year. They own Riot. That's the company that's responsible for League of Legends. They own a portion of Activision Blizzard, which is responsible for World of Warcraft, Call of Duty, Skylanders, etc. This is really interesting. Now, here's how it worked. They purchased, and I've got some facts here based on an article that was written on pixelkin.com. They are purchasing 84.3% of Supercell. That gives them the majority stake. They're going to have control of what Supercell does, although it could very well be that they bought them, they control them, and they're just going to let Supercell do whatever they want, because obviously Supercell is doing something right. So this doesn't mean that they're going to shutter them. Obviously they bought this because they wanted the revenue stream. They are valued at over 10 billion, so buying 84.3 means that they will be responsible for $8.6 million. Not 8.6 million, 8.6 billion with a capital B. Okay, so for sake of comparison, Disney bought Star Wars a handful of years back, if you will recall, 2012 to be specific. When Disney bought Star Wars, they paid $4 billion for Star Wars. So Tencent is buying Supercell, this mobile game developer, for twice the value that Disney spent on Star Wars as everything. And that included like LucasArts, Lucasfilms, all of it. I think that says something about the power of mobile games. Now, there are a lot of folks out there that think mobile games are a bubble. They think that mobile games are not going to be a viable income source over the long term. I think that I think that's crazy. Everybody has a phone. So we talk a lot about, when we talk about consoles, we talk about install base, right? We talk about, oh, well, the PlayStation 4 sold 40 million PlayStation 4s. So when you put out a game, the attach rate, you know, how if 10% of the people that buy that, that's 4 million copies. That's amazing. That's a lot of copies of a game. Just about everybody has a phone, and that's not gonna go away. So the install base for just Apple, right, is huge. Just on the iOS App Store. It's massive. And when you think of the Android store, and the number of people who play mobile games in, say, China or Japan or Korea, those markets are massive. I mean, we have movies. I mean, if you think about China as an economic power, we have movies who, for all intents and purposes, bomb in the United States. Angry Birds, for example, was a flop by United States standards. Probably going to get a sequel. Why? Because of China. Because they love them some mobile games, and they all know Angry Birds, and there's more people there. Same thing with the Warcraft movie. It bombed in the United States. It wasn't reviewed terribly well, but they tried. They did a huge marketing push all over the place. It was the sponsor of Raw. It sponsored, NBA games. They had commercials. They had a giant orc on the Today Show. Right? They tried everything. China carried it because apparently they love giant orc guys. I don't know. And so the mobile game market is huge, and it's not showing any signs of slowing down, especially as markets kind of mature. And some markets are maturing, others are just entering the market. There is a huge push to bring cell phones and that mobile technology to places that don't have computers, that would never have a PlayStation. But a phone is a reasonable tool, right? I mean, you can use it to call people and communicate, and you can use it basically as a computer. Lord knows all of this work is being done on my phone. I have my phone on a tripod, taking my picture right now and beaming it out. And I'm doing a live video feed, and I'm putting this on YouTube. Every last bit of it is being done on a phone. And my phone is admittedly a bit more advanced than some of the ones that are going to be out there. But that's because I need it, right? But there are a lot of places where an Android phone's probably not going to be that hard to get, right? And so you put out a game on Android, huge install base. So part of this was just me wanting an opportunity to kind of talk about how crazy this was, because I saw the numbers and it hit me like a ton of bricks, right? I mean, I sat and I read and I read and I read, and the number, it just took me, I said, wow, Microsoft bought Minecraft and Mojang for, $2 billion. Minecraft, it's the best-selling video game of all time. And here we are, Tencent over in China. Number one, they bought Riot for a bunch, and now they are buying not even all of Supercell. Not even all of it. They don't even own it all. 80-something%, and they paid over $8 billion. It's crazy.